bit of a mess trying to get on. Announced on Instagram I'd get on at 2:30 and it's probably nearly 3:45, I suppose. That's crazy. Anyway, I thought I'd come on and talk about what do you call it? Oh, please forgive me. I've been put on a new seizure medication, and this is one of the reasons why I haven't been on for a while. It's made my head really... I'm very vague. I've got a lot of brain fog, and I keep forgetting stuff. So, if you can bear with me while I try and muddle my way through this video, that'd be great. If you can listen, if you can bear listening to my gabbling for that long. Okay, so first things first. I've been gifted a new phone stand, which so far has been quite good. It's a little bit top heavy, so once I put the phone on and the light and the speaker port, speaker receiver, the top's a little bit heavy, so I've just got to watch I don't tip it over. Potentially I could put a weight down there, I suppose. I didn't think of that until now. So before I get onto this, I wanted to show you, I've been working on this denim jacket. It's one I've had for years, and I used to wear it, but it's a size 18. I actually moved the tag. I put it in here. I put it over here because I was going to do some decoration around the top here, and I've changed my mind again. So the size tag is now in on the left hand breast side. But why I've got this out to show you is because I had more ideas for this. I've stitched this feather stitch now. What's the word? Cassia Jacquot, is that a name? I apologise sincerely if I've got the pronunciation incorrect. I will, once I've uploaded this video, I will go back and look up this lovely lady's name and her website or her YouTube and link it in my description. But just be aware that won't come up straight away. I've got to wait till this uploads, then go back and watch my video again and take notes of what I need, what information I need to put up. So it will take a few days. So what I've done is, as you can see, I've done feather stitch around the collar in a, it's a pink, like a dusty, soft, it's obviously pastel, I don't know what you'd call it. It's a pearl 5, I think. DMC, it's vintage. I've had this skein, it's not a skein, it's a ball, you know, the balls. Where's one? Yeah, like this. Looks like this, but it's in this pink colour. It's probably the same weight as this, which is it is the same weight. Let's have a look. It's a pearl 8, I apologise. I should know all my pearls by now. I've been doing this long enough. So yeah, DMC pearl 8, I'm fairly certain this is the same brand and weight. It's just a different colour. So I've got a big box of vintage cottons, different types of cottons that I pick up from the op shops, and I'm using the last of this pink. So as you can see, I've done this feather stitch around the collar, and then I've done some across the front here and around the top of the pockets on both sides. But then there was some wear marks, so I decided to put this on and make a feature of it But now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if I like it, in the sense that, should I add more layers? Should I be adding some lace and some more stitching? I did have some crocheted inserts that I had started to do the hems on, and I was going to insert those around here. I've got to find where I've put them because I keep changing my mind. And one of the main reasons I was going to do that is because I've got this hole in the cuff here. I don't know what's happened. It's been there for years. Just general wear and tear. Well, it's obviously been caught on something, but I've been tossing up whether to do these crocheted insertions around the sleeve cuffs. And the waistband. Now I've got a few ideas for here. Potentially I could do the crocheted insertion again, which I've got to applique on, but I think it would be too bold or in your face, to be honest. The next thing I thought of was, and I didn't think of it, Kasia did, when she was on her travelling in New Zealand, I watched her do some clothing and she gave me all these ideas. So I've wondered whether to embroider a saying or a verse around the waistband, or should I just leave it as it is? And then I wondered, and I think Kasia did this as well, I could embroider some, let's see, I've actually started to, in invisible ink, write something, I can't read it now, but embroider some verses or some saying or some encouragement on the inside, so only you know that it's in there. I've also done on the back, this back piece, and again, this is like an I Spy, I suppose. What do you call it? You know, when you're looking at a landscape and you hold up a viewfinder and you look at little bits to concentrate on. When I display these through my monitor, it gives me a completely different view. Like I can look at this in the flesh. I think, oh yeah, that looks like that. I don't mind that. It's offset. It's, you know, it's easy on the eye, whatever. But when I look through the monitor here, I don't like it. I think it's too blocky. It's too bold. And I'm now wondering whether I should be putting more layers of lace over it and making it more textured and more, so it sort of melds into the fabric, into the denim. I thought I had done that with these stitches, but as I said, looking through the monitor here, it doesn't please me now. So my question is, if you were to buy this piece that I've been working on, are you happy with that, or would you prefer me to put more layers and try and blend it a bit more? I've also done that feather stitch across the back there, as you can see. I've used the same thread, the same dusty pink, to applique around this piece of rescued tablecloth. And then I did a bit on here to highlight, you know, just to sort of get it all to match in. This bit here, this is a bit of weave stitch. Now there was a tear here, and I wanted to do the weave stitch here and make it a feature. And I did want it to stand out, but not making a great choice, I chose this cotton inside in poor lighting, and it's very, I don't think it matches very well. So I'm a bit frustrated with that. I don't know whether to leave it because I did want it to be a focal point. And I guess it sort of does pull in, this colour is over here as well, it sort of does pull it all in, I suppose, but yeah, anyway, so that's my biggest question. I'm not going to keep this because it doesn't fit me anymore. I'm much, much larger than an 18. But I didn't want to just toss it. Most of the op shops around here aren't taking clothes at the moment because they're overrun with clothing. They can't get rid of them. So the only option really at the moment is to toss clothing in the bin, and I'm trying really hard not to do that. It's not great, as you're aware. So I thought if I did some work on this and sold it onto someone else who might enjoy it. So that's what I'm doing. As I mentioned, if you were to buy this, I'm not saying I want you to, but if this is something that you were looking at thinking, oh yeah, I'd like to buy that, would you like more layers for it to blend in more? I think that's my biggest question with that at the moment. Just, like I said, just looking through the, oh crikey, I knew I had to be careful with that. It's right on my foot. I apologise. It's a new setup, so I'm still not used to it. Now I've completely lost my train of thought, and I can't remember if I've actually prefaced this video or not, but those of you who have been following along would know that I've been having some seizures which they think are actually hemiplegic migraines. But as a result, my neurologist has put me on new medication. I'm on the second type because I had a reaction to the first one. And it's just making me a bit, I don't know what word to use. I just had a whole heap of words come into my head and I thought I can't say those. He explained as brain fog. It's a whole new level than brain fog. So what I'm saying is I apologise if I keep forgetting. I apologise if I'm not making much sense, but hopefully I can hold it together enough to get through this video. So I've done the jacket. The next thing is, what is the next thing? I should leave that till last and really get into it, I suppose. I wanted to show you some of these stamped linens that I've collected. Now, I started collecting these years ago thinking that I would finish them off and use them. But I've ended up with quite a few. This one, the size of it, I reckon was a pillowcase or a pillow sham. Someone's already done all the lovely embroidery. It's cotton. I'm fairly certain this one's cotton. I don't think it's linen. Let's have a look. There's a number there. Erin Art? I can't read it. So I've actually got, look, there's a big stain there. I haven't washed or soaked these because I want to finish them before I do that, so I don't wash off any of the stamping, the outline, which I have done before. I've washed them prematurely and washed off the outline. This is the second one. There's another stain there. There's quite a few stains on it, but anyway, I'm fairly certain these are cotton, and I believe, well, my theory is that they were for cushions or cushion covers. I don't have backs for them. As I said, I've got a pair of them. I could potentially stitch something on the back to make it a pillow slash cushion slash pillowcase, whatever, and do the crochet edge around it. But I don't like the colours, for starters, so I'm not convinced I will actually finish that. It might get moved on to someone else, or I might use it in some textile art. This is a recent one. This one's quite old, I believe. This linen, I don't know how to explain it. The linen's different. It's almost like paper, but the quality of the linen is just beautiful, and I don't know how else to describe it. But I was gifted this one recently. It's like a table centre or a tray cloth. Most of the work had already been done, but I came along and did, can I see what I did on here? I've done the French knots, well I actually did colonial knots because I don't like French knots, but I've done the colonial knots in the centre of the flowers here, and over here I've done these flowers here, and that's why that's there. I'm still to finish the colonial knots in the centre of the flowers, and then I'll have to do an edge around it. I don't know how to, like, I know I've already said it, but this linen, it's just beautiful. It's not a heavy linen, this one. This is a vintage variegated stranded cotton that I've acquired in my collection. So I try to use, when I stitch these, I try to use the vintage cotton, stranded cottons, either Anchor or DMC, and I try to also match the style of stitching as well, which can be difficult at times. You've probably noticed, if you've seen these before, the stitching's very different on every person that does some stitching. I'll give you an example. This stitching to me is a little bit, how can I explain it? Rustic. I suppose I'd explain this one as a rustic stitching, but then look at the stitching on this one. Isn't that amazing? How can I? Oops, I can't. I thought I could zoom in, but it won't let me. So, you know, each piece is different, and so I do try very hard to match the style of stitching that the person has done if it's already been stitched. Now I've also got these here. I think these are gorgeous. I had someone, Kaylee commented on one of my doilies the other day and told me that one of the ones I had posted, she bought the same set in the 80s or the early 80s. Now, all the research I've done, I wasn't aware that these were released in the 80s. I know that there was a big bunch of different styles released in the 90s, and I can usually pick those by the linen. It's a heavier linen and much heavier than these. This is an example. See, this linen's quite different. It's a heavier linen. It's still a beautiful linen, but compared to this one, which I'm now thinking this might be more from the 80s, 70s, 80s, and then compared to this one, which is potentially 20s, 30s, this one. So they're all quite different, and as I said, I do try to match the stitching style, but I have got these two. This, I think, would have been part of a Duchess set, a 3-piece set, but this is all I was given or came upon. So with these, all I think I'll do is just put a crochet edge around them. I keep questioning whether it's worth my effort to do all this work on these though. Because if I, for example, if I was to finish this piece off and do the crochet edge, that would take me probably 2 days to crochet around one, not all day every day. So if I was to do the two, we've got 4 days of work there, possibly 5. For me, and it might just be me, it's not the easiest thing to crochet these edges, probably because I've got arthritis. And then if I was not to keep these and put them in my D-stash, I'd be lucky to get $5, $6, $7 for each one. It's not a lot of money, considering someone's put all this work in. Like, look at some of these other pieces have got so much work put into them. Like, look at this one. This one's going to go into my quilt, I think. Look at this one. I've drawn that line on, so just ignore that. But the work that's gone into that's amazing. And then we list them and sell them for a couple of bucks, which is crazy to me. So I've got those two, again, questioning whether I should put all the effort in. I think if I'm going to use them in some of my artwork, I will. If I'm going to use them in a textile collage or a quilt or a needlebook or something, it's worth it to do it. But if I'm just going to move them on, is it actually worth it? Like, look at this. This is a 3-piece Duchess set. The linen is divine, absolutely beautiful. There's no flaws, there's no marks, there's no, you know, it's just exquisite. There's a bit of Great Dane glitter, or one of my eyelashes. Now someone, as you can see, has put all the work in to do all the embroidery, which is beautiful. I have seen more perfect embroidery but this is still beautifully worked. Now the thing is, I don't know if this has been done by a 90-year-old lady riddled with arthritis. I don't know that. None of us know that. So when I get these pieces, I often sit with them and contemplate, I guess, who's done this, what was she like, what did she enjoy, you know, how old was she, was this a challenge for this lady to do? Look at the back of the work though. It's almost as perfect as the front. And this is how we used to be taught to do these linens. There shouldn't be any knots. That's a tiny knot. See, yeah, no knots. There's a knot there. There's no knots in any of that. There's no knots there. You can feel it if you're not sure if there's a knot. If you run your finger over it, there's a knot there. I can feel it because it's a little lump. There's a little one there. There's a big one there. But they're not very visible, and you know, the work on this is quite exquisite. So then, as I said, the quality of this linen makes me think it might be 70s, 80s. It's not as old as I originally thought. And look, I do my research, but it is hard to find information on these things. I'm wondering if you're watching along, can you let me know if you can hear me? I've got a new microphone and there's nothing that lets me know. I've followed the instructions to attach it, but there's nothing that lets me know whether it's actually attached and working. So as far as I know, I could be chatting away here to you and you can't hear a damn thing I'm saying. I don't know. It could have blocked off my sound. So if you are watching and you can hear me, can you just let me know in the comments, please, if that's okay? Because, yeah, I really don't know. Here's another piece. Again, another rectangular table centre or tray cloth. Again, look at the work on these yellow flowers. Absolutely gorgeous. It's hard to get them in focus. The back of the work is just as beautiful. Very neat. This linen, this is an older linen. Again, I'm not sure how to explain it, but it almost feels paper-like. It's an Irish linen. It feels like an Irish linen, I believe. It doesn't say, it just says pure linen. The Stitchery, number 9, Angel Place, Sydney. Now, I've never seen that before. So I might do some research and see if I can find any information on that. I find that quite intriguing. And again, for me to do a crochet edge on this, it would take me, something this large, would probably take me 4 or 5 days. And I know that sounds extreme, but I'm also a perfectionist. So, and that combined with the arthritis, it just takes me so long. I don't do fancy edges. I don't have examples of my edges here, but I try and make them nice and consistent and even. What's this piece I've got recently? I did give a couple away yesterday to someone who I think might enjoy them, because I'm starting to get too many. Another lovely table centre, or this could potentially be part of a Dutch set. It could be a tray cloth, used as a tray cloth. But again, I think I'd really like to work this one, the beautiful flowers. A lot of this is lazy daisy stitch, but these flowers here, I think would be a nice blanket stitch on those with an eyelet in the centre. But I've got to work out colours. To me, I'd like to do like mauves and pinks and blues, I think. I don't tend to lean towards yellows and oranges and greens. They're not my, like this, they're not my colours. But that doesn't mean they're not useful for other things. Same as that. They're not my colours. I'm just not attracted to them. Here's this piece. I have never received a piece in this condition. In all the pieces I have, this was gifted to me recently, and I really want to hang on to this because it's stunning to me. We've got this beautiful, beautiful linen. Simcoe. I'm just trying to see if it's Irish linen. It doesn't say. The way the instructions are printed makes me think it's at least 1950s, maybe as far back as the 20s. The linen is a bit different to any I've seen. It has a slight sheen to it. So the beautiful Irish linens that they used to use in the 20s and 30s to make damask, they often had a sheen as well. So I'm wondering if this is from one of the same factories. But I've never seen a complete Duchess set like this with the colour instructions, all the colours on the back here, and the crochet edge. These are actually bobbin lace, woven bobbin lace that they've suggested, that I often see stitched on some of them, but I prefer to do a crochet edge by hand so it fits. It's made to fit the piece. So between, I've had pieces with this before, but not with that, and this label. One of the pieces I gave away yesterday had a label on it, different label, but they're the only two pieces I've ever seen that still have those labels on them. So I think that's quite, look at that, I think they're gorgeous. They're a really nice shape too, aren't they? So those ones I would like to keep in my collection, and I would like to aim at working those. Here's another little, look at that, isn't that cute? Little doily, needs to be worked. Most of that again is lazy daisy stitch, and then a nice crochet edge around it. But I have got so many pieces, guys. This one, fadeless warp linen. Haven't seen that written before. Simcoe fadeless warp linen. I've got two of these, and again, they could have been part of a Duchess set. I don't know, because this is all I've got. Now, the way this design is, I would be inclined to, maybe I should go right off the rails and do something very different. But the way this design is leads me to believe that these potentially should have blanket stitch all the way around the outside, usually in a white or a cream or an ecru. And then you come along and cut out all these gaps. So we've got cut work pieces. All these gaps in between the petals and the leaves here. So that's what I would be inclined to do with that piece. What have I got here? I don't know if you want to sit with me to go through all this, because this isn't originally what I was going to do, but I did bring them out to show you some. Now this is a My Art linen, and this design, I actually bought one in the, it was a bit different, it just had the flowers down here. And I have sold a couple with the same design recently, but very similar design. I think it had that same spray, but it went along the bottom side of the tray cloth or table centre. This one's different, this linen's different. This makes me believe it's an older one. Again, we've got, this is a My Art brand. That printing though makes me think it might be more 80s or 90s. We've got all the instructions here, how to embroider it, what colours to use, how to do the crochet edge. And this is actually a table runner. So we've got all this work down both ends, the other side, pure linen. And then we'd have to do a crochet edge. Now, I just knocked my ruler off, sorry. I bought this recently, a few months ago, and I paid $3 for it. And I think it's just stunning. So I'm putting these on a shelf underneath me, and they're starting to slide off. What else have I got here? Oh, this is my little collection of sandwich tray cloths that I'd like to work. Now this one was really dirty, and I gave it a wash, and most of the design washed out, so I've now traced over it again with a heat heat soluble marker. Now this one, I want to say this is cotton. It doesn't tell me what it is, but it could be a very fine linen. It's hard to tell with these older pieces. I want to say cotton, this one. So that's one I'd like to work. This one is a beautiful heavier linen, a sandwich tray cloth with nasturtiums. So another one I'd like to work. Now looking at that, it's the same colour as what I've drawn, but I know I didn't draw this one, that's original. So I just realised that as I'm showing you, sorry. Look at this one, this is an older one. Now what's that called, an arrowhead. I've got some here actually growing. Or did I give them all to my son recently? There's actually a plant. I'm sure it's called an arrowhead something. I can't remember the name of it, sorry, but interesting that little corner's cut out. Pure linen. Another lovely little sandwich tray cloth I'd like to work. Another one. I think I'd actually had one recently that was completed in that same design. Interesting. That's a lovely linen, that one. Another one. Now I've started to work this one. I've done my practice stitching because I haven't done stitching for so long. I've done some practice stitching in here in the margins, and yeah, I've started stitching that. So again, I'm using vintage cottons to do the stitching, try to match the same era. I'm even using vintage needles to do them. What else is up here? Oh, these are just pieces that came from there was all sorts of pieces. Some were printed and some were just big plain squares. So I've kept these because it's a beautiful linen, and I thought I would do something with those. I don't know what. I have gifted some of those as well. What have we got next? Oh, this is another one I started. So there's one. There's another one I tried to wash. I don't even know if it will come up. And again, I'm not sure if this is cotton or linen. I reckon it's linen, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know how to tell with those fine ones. Now this is one I've been working on. This already had this white, very simple white crochet edge around it, and it just didn't do it for me, so I've come along with this vintage variegated cotton and added the blue crochet edge to it. I've been stitching these little flowers, and I decided to wear this what's it called? I'm sorry, I've lost the name of it. Where they've done the stitching, it's like where is one? So this stitching they do for your crochet edge, I can't remember what it's called, I'm sorry. They've actually done that on the inside of this as a feature, so I've come along and stitched over it with the blue just to try and carry that theme through. So that's one I've been working on. Look, I don't even know how to explain how many things I'm working on at the moment. I go looking for something and come across something else and think, oh, I forgot I was working on that. I need to finish that. Now this piece is something I was gifted recently and I absolutely adore it, and I'm trying to work out something I can use it for. And I'm thinking I might like to make one of those quilters workbooks that Beck makes from So Be. The big, I don't know, 12 inch by 12 inch, maybe a little bit bigger textile books to keep your quilt panels in as you're working on them. So I'm thinking I'd like to put this in one, make one. Now this is beautiful vintage linen. As you can see, it's a stunning linen. It still has the original needle in it that has rusted in. Someone has been practicing these little, I can't remember what you call them, it's like buttonhole stitch along a bar. But look at this. Now, this is mainly, most of these pieces are silk. These are all silk. These are silk, the red ones. These, I think these are silk too, but they're crepe, silk crepe. They're all silk. So someone has gone, and I don't know why there's nothing in the centre, it's been removed. You can see there were stitches on there. I believe this is quite old. Look at that fabric. It's almost see-through. It's just beautiful. So yeah, I was gifted this recently. I think it's absolutely stunning, and I'm trying to work out something that I can use. Look, they've done that feather stitch all the way around the outside, and there's a bit around here, and then there's in a different colour. That actually looks like oyster stitch down here. Oh no, chain, looped chain. I'm going to have to look it up, but anyway, I was gifted this recently and I think it's just stunning, and I'm trying to work out something fabulous to do with that. Here's some more linen that I've got. It's more like, this is more like an Ada to do cross stitch on. And then I've got, I don't know if you can see, I've got a box. See this one here? This is all stamped linens that have not yet been worked that I would like to do. This is some beautiful, beautiful plain linen. I love that stuff. If I find that, I'll buy it because I use it in so many things. Here's another one I was gifted recently. I just think these are divine, absolutely stunning. See how this has got the double line? That tells me that it should be stitched in a blanket stitch, and then you just cut all the way up to the edge. No need for any crochet edge because that would be the lovely stunning edge. And someone has already started to work it. Now, I quite like this purple colour, but I'm not sure if I like this ecru. It's a stranded cotton. It looks like a DMC or an anchor. I'm not sure if I like the colour, so I don't know. But interestingly, if you look down the bottom here, it's a serviette. Now, if that wasn't printed there, I don't think I would have known that. It's actually 12 by 12, so potentially it could be a feature piece to go in one of those quilters workbooks. I'm seeing more and more people using these unworked in their textile pieces, which I think is amazing. This is something, oh, this has got a bit of a story to it. Sorry, I've just dropped everything. Oh, crikey, I can feel it with the tip of my fingers, I just can't pick it up. So when I used to be a member of the Embroiderers Guild years ago, I went for many years, we used to have travelling tutors. And one of those travelling tutors was this lovely lady. And I do remember at the time that I didn't do this course because I just couldn't afford it. And sometimes when I was a member of the guild, we'd have a travelling tutor one fortnight and we'd pay all this money, do this intensive classes. They were always quite intensive. Just shove our brains with so much information and so many skills, and we'd start working on these pieces, and then a fortnight later there'd be another travelling tutor. So we haven't finished that, but we're starting something else. And I'm finding more and more pieces that I've started and not finished. But this is, I've got to check to make sure, Adele Richards. Now, Adele Richards designed this beautiful teapot cozy, I suppose you'd call it. It's made out of wool. And, yep, teapot cozy. And as I said, I could not afford to do it at the time. Now, 2004 this workshop was. So what are we talking? 22 years ago. And I came across this kit last year for $9 and I jumped at it because it's got all the instructions. It's got the... Oh crap. Sorry, I just dropped things again. I knew I'd do that when I packed it like that. And yet I still did it. What a goose. It's got the pure wool for the cosy. Someone has already gone to the trouble to baste the outline of the tea cosy. They've also basted or outlined in all the correct coloured thread where all the stitching needs to go. And this is what it should look like when it's done. They've started to stitch here. We've got wool and silk that they've started to do the stitching. It's got the stabiliser on the back. It also came with the silk threads. Now this is a Safondra, I think. Yes, came across a few of these recently. I'd never heard of them before, but they're amazing. I believe they're quite vintage. This is a Raj Mahal, which we used to buy Raj Mahal when I used to do, what's that three-dimensional embroidery? I can't remember, I'm sorry. Made in Bendigo, Australia. I don't even know if they're still around, I'll have to have a look. I've got some, this is a DMC pure lane, so it's wool, pure virgin wool in the green, which would be the look, matches that cotton thread on the leaves. DMC stranded cotton in a purpley mauvey colour, a black DMC, and then we've got this was included, a nice cream ecru, not exactly sure yet what that one's purpose was. A pink, which was used, this is a machine thread, polyester. This was used to trace around the pink flowers. We've got a purple one, which I can't see on there, but it must have a purpose. We've got the blue, which is these ones here that have been stitched. I've got a red DMC, which would be for, I'd imagine, the lady beetle. There's a lady beetle down here, and that's probably what this black is for as well. There's also a purple, which must have a use. I can't see it in front of my face right now. We've also got some satin ribbon, double-sided satin ribbon, which would be used for, there's ties either side, so that's what the satin ribbon would have been for. We've also got Appleton's pure wool for the flowers, some of the flowers. That would probably be for the, I haven't read the instructions yet, but it will tell me. I'd say this Appleton's was used for these rosebuds up here. I've also got some cream Appletons, which looks like it's mixed, combined even with that for these blossoms, like that one. We've then got, oh, these are divine, gum nut yarns. These are, I used to save and save and save and save for these, and I'd treasure them when I got them because they were quite expensive. These variegated pure wool gum nut yarns. So that would be for, I'd say, these big blossoms, potentially. Another beautiful gum nut yarns. Are they the same colour? Looks like it. No, maybe not. Let's look at the $2.97. A25, so they're not the same colour. There we go. Also got another gumnut yarns. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. I can't even see in here where that's... Oh, the centres of the flowers. We've also got watercolours by Karen. These are stunning. Now this is a blue lavender. I'm pretty sure. Doesn't tell me. Oh, it's cotton. I wasn't sure if it was a cotton silk blend, but it's cotton. Then there's also another Appleton's, which potentially would be combined in these bits. Some Mill Hill glass pebble beads. Aren't they stunning? Now, I'd assume, see these berries down the bottom here that are actually three-dimensional? They would be wrapped with one of these threads, I'd say, and they probably wrapped over these pebble beads, so potentially you won't even see those. And then there's this packet of, these are divine. Look at these. My neighbour must be working on his caravan again. Oh, they've got to have mohair in them. Mohair, they're called mohair, 8 metres. They are the softest, most amazing threads. They're absolutely divine. Now I believe by looking at it, they were used to do, see these flowers, the petals I mean, these fly stitch petals. There's one done in here in the green. So all that, oh look, they've even included the needles in the back. So I got all that for $9 and I was so excited because this is one of the things I wanted to make in 2004 when I was in the guild, but I couldn't afford to pay for the stuff. However, I'm not entirely convinced I'm going to make it into a tea cozy. I'm starting to think I might turn it into a zippered pouch of some kind, because that would be much more practical for me. I haven't drunk tea for many years. I probably will start drinking it again, but I'm currently not a big tea drinker, so it's a little bit redundant for me to go to all that trouble to finish that for a teapot cozy when I don't actually drink tea anymore. So I still haven't no one's let me know yet whether they can hear me. I'm assuming you can because you're still around. Again, I've got more and more. This one, oh, look at this. I've never seen anything like this before. I get goosebumps every time I pull this one out. I think I've shared this one before. It's a large tablecloth, a linen tablecloth. Beautiful linen. Women's Weekly, I know it's upside down. Women's Weekly decimal coin cloth special offer. So obviously it came with the Women's Weekly magazine, but it's covered in our old decimal currency and native flowers. So as you can see, again, even though it's upside down, 2-cent coin with the frilled neck lizard surrounded by wattle blossoms. What else have we got? I think this is just amazing. I get so excited when I see it, and I really want to work this one. The 10-cent coin with the lyrebird, and again we've got the wattle around it. What's on this side? The 1-cent coin, crap, I just knocked that off, with the possum. Is that the Leadbeater's possum? I can't remember now. Then we've got the 20-cent coin with the platypus. Now they're all surrounded by wattle. And then in the centre is that bloody drill or grinder, is a map of Australia. And we've got the 5-cent coin with the echidna. And on the other side, the 50-cent coin. And it's the round 50-cent coin, which From memory, I believe the round 50-cent coin is actually made from 99% silver. So obviously not on this linen, but the actual coins, I do think my dad has a couple of those. So I was absolutely ecstatic when I found this. The linen in this is amazing. It is so heavy. It's some of the most beautiful linen. I know I say that all the time, but can you tell I like linen? So that, it came with all the threads, the stranded cottons. I assume this is probably how it arrived from Women's Weekly. And this is the instructions. So there you go. That gives you an idea, if you can see that, of the layout of the tablecloth. So as I showed you, one coin's got the 2-cent coin with the frilled neck lizard, the 1-cent coin with the possum, the 20-cent coin with the platypus, the 10-cent coin with the lyrebird, and then the map of Australia with the 50-cent round coin and the 5-cent echidna. Now, do you know why on our 50-cent coin, or our coat of arms, why we have a kangaroo and an emu? Does anyone know that? I remember, I can't remember who told me that. It might have been my dad or my granddad many, many years ago. They've placed the kangaroo and the echidna on our coat of arms because they can't walk backwards. So it's a representative of us not going backwards as a nation. I thought that was interesting. And I can't remember, like, decimal currency, when was that? 70, 60? Gosh, I can't remember when decimal currency came in Australia. So yes, I was incredibly excited about that. I paid a bit more for that than I normally would, but it was worth it for me. But then in saying that, some of the ones I bought recently were even 2 or 3 times more than that from the same place, and they're not, I don't think they're actually a viable option at that price anymore. Probably are, even just for the linen. Now this one, I bought at a garage sale a couple of years ago. I think they charged me 50 cents for it. Came like this. And it's got all the original anchor cottons, vintage cottons. Aren't they divine? Look at those colours. And it's interesting, when you touch these vintage cottons, they feel different. They sort of feel a little bit like corn flour. You know when you pick up a bag of corn flour and it's got that, I don't know how to explain it. These feel a bit like that. But I think it's just because they're such pure cotton, quite old, like, you know. So again, this is just a table centre, beautiful linen, My Art brand, still got its paper tag on it. And it's got, what would you call them, carnations and sweet peas, pansies. So imagine that being worked in those colours. Aren't they divine? I need to do this. The colours are absolutely stunning, I think. So yeah, I think I paid 50 cents for that a few years ago at I say garage sale, it was in a hall. I can't remember what it was for. It was out at Mount Vincent. Mount Vincent. What was that other little suburb out there? Just past Mount Vincent. I should know because they've got a fire station and they meet up with us. This one is the same design that I came across at a completely different place, and it's the matching, I forgot I even had this, matching 3-piece vanity set. And it's got the design and the instructions and I forgot all about this piece. Now that I've opened it, I remember where I got this one. I got this one from an op shop. And I think, again, they charged me 50 cents for that. So I was quite stoked with both of those. But why can't I get that to... I would really love to actually work them myself and, you know, keep them or put them in some vintage, some textile art. I'm sorry, they charged me $2 for that one, but still, can't complain about that, can I? So I completely forgot that I got this matching Duchess set. That's crazy. The linen's not the same, but it's still a really good set, that one. Now, I might just show one or two more. We're never going to get through all this tonight because this isn't what I had originally got on here for. Another piece of vintage linen. Now this one, someone has started to do the, is it Italian insertions? No. Well, someone started to do that fancy edge around it. It's been basted. It's, if you've ever done this stitch, Italian, I'm sure it's Italian hem stitch, Italian. It's incredibly laborious, especially when it's this fine. Look at that work. This has all been hand stitched. I have done this before. This isn't my work, but it is incredibly laborious. I would love to finish that, but it's not at the top of my to-do list. There's no design on it. It's just a linen, square linen, you know, maybe supper cloth size. What's this one? Just another piece of vintage linen. Beautiful, very heavy quality, that one. Another piece of vintage linen with no design on it. If I see these vintage pieces, I grab them because they're just divine. The quality of the linen is incredible. Got more of those than I realised. Okay, what's this one? Oh, this is an apron. I love this. I love most of them. I believe this one's cotton or what was that fabric called? Seeded homespun. I think it's probably more like calico, but it's a child's apron. There's 2 pockets up here to be added, and it shows you where the pockets are supposed to go. But look at the design. Isn't that gorgeous? So that's one of my aprons. I've got a few aprons. Some of them were from my grandmother, so I will hang on to those. They all need work done. That's why they're all in this box. This is amazing. A friend gifted me this last year or the year before. I'm very tempted to cut this up and use it in a needle book. Look at this linen. Isn't it amazing? Absolutely stunning vintage linen. Now obviously this is, I can't remember what it's called, but it runs off, you know, because this piece is selvage to selvage. So it's obviously designed specifically for tea towels. It needs to be hemmed. And then we get to the other end of it. Oh, the quality in this is amazing. Look at this. Someone started to do all the work, but it needs to be finished. So that's on my to-do list. I need to put them out so I can see them. And what I need to do is try and match these vintage stranded threads. So that's what will be happening with that one. I'm just going to show you a few more because I wanted to show you the aprons. This one I'm not a fan of. This one might get moved along. I don't like the design, although I have seen it done in ecru and it was stunning. It's a Duchess set. I certainly don't like the colours that they've suggested. They're just not my colours. It's as simple as that. You know, it's beautiful, beautiful work. I appreciate it immensely, but I just don't like these colours. It's actually got the crocheted edge instructions, which I might keep because I don't mind that. It's a pretty one. So, 3-piece vanity set or Duchess set or dresser set. I'm fairly certain my, does it say pure linen? It doesn't say Irish linen, but it's pure linen. She's still got her, again, it's not very common to come across these labels still on them. Made in Hong Kong, there you go. So that could potentially be an 80s one. Oh, these are cute. I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I've been tossing up whether to keep them to put in needle books or something. Obviously they need to be worked. They're a bit cute. Oh, I like this. This is stunning. This was gifted to me recently. Look at that. Someone's done all that work. Absolutely stunning. And it just needs to have a crochet edge on it and have a good soak. But I reckon this is an older one. It's just the linen, quality of the linen, the colour of it, the colours used in the... This could potentially be anywhere from 20s to 50s, that one. Oh, I moved on a couple of these and I shouldn't have because it's stunning. Got this big table centre. It hasn't been finished. It needs to be cut around that blanket stitch. And I already did that to the one I moved on. But I keep these pieces that I cut off because if you come across a piece with a hole in it, you can use these to patch them up. Then we've got the matching, again, just has to have those ends trimmed. Another one. And then another one. And another one. The ones I moved on were a full Duchess set, so for some reason there's an extra two. I don't know how this ended up in there, but that was in there with it. So that is stunning. I'm trying to get to these aprons to show you. Another piece of beautiful vintage linen. What's this one? This looks like a tablecloth. Maybe it's just fabric. Must be just vintage linen. Beautiful. It's beautiful quality. Just the weight in it and the drape and they're just stunning. Strawberries. Now this one I vaguely remember from the 90s when I used to work at the quilt shop. Etri Mitrofanus. I actually did some workshops with Effie. Lovely lady. I can't remember what the workshop was. It wasn't this. It was dimensional stuff. I can't remember the name of it, but this is actually a table runner. So it's a long piece. There's not a picture of it on there. It's just the linen. There's no cottons included. Irish linen. Look at that. I forgot about this one. It's still got the label on it. There's that Erin Art brand again. A pioneer product, pure Irish linen. Oh, it's very pretty. It's a big, I think it's another pillowcase or pillow sham. That's what shape it is. Got stunning flowers on it. So that one will stay in my collection and I might even work that to put on my, I'm planning on doing this beautiful quilt for when I move and I want to put some vintage pillowcases and things on it, so that might go to that. Another beautiful table centre. Most of it's disappeared. I don't know whether this is how I got it, but it's absolutely stunning. Now I think I'm finally getting to the aprons that I wanted to show you. I probably should have cut straight to those. Oh, this is just beautiful. Firstly, look at this linen. It's absolutely stunning. It's a bit more raw than the really fine stuff. I love the slub. I love the colour. I'm not sure, but I think this is the natural colour of linen. I think that's how it comes out. But I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong. So we've got these hollyhocks on the front of the apron here. You can see there's the outline of the bib at the top. There's two pockets either side that don't have any designs on them, which is a little bit unusual. There's placement for them down there, and then down the bottom, look at this. Isn't it divine? The hairs stand up on the back of my neck when I look at this. Now I sort of feel like, I'm not sure, I think I would have done, and I mean this person may not have had many options, but to me I feel like this brown should be darker than this one. But you know, work it all up and see how we go. There's one of the aprons. This is another apron. And honestly, I can't remember where I got all these. I know where some of them came from. Some of these, I think most of these might have been from my nan. At the top of the apron, you can see it, some work up here. And then pocket needs some work on it. And I love the shape of this pocket. It's a bit different. It's almost like a teacup. And then we come down and look at this. A beautiful, beautiful lady. I don't know if she's a Criollan lady or a Southern Belle. She doesn't have the umbrella, but she's got the beautiful big skirt. She's got a bonnet on and a basket of flowers. And then we come down. Look, we've got a little slipper poking out the bottom of her dress. We've got flowers along the bottom here. And then we've got a topiary. It's just stunning. Again, it's in that beautiful raw linen. Next apron. I've got another one I took out I was going to send to someone, and it's on my table still. Now this one's a lemon colour, a yellowy lemon, and it is... This one's all cotton. Well, there you go. So that's going to help me identify some of the others. Now this is from that, it came up earlier, the Stitchery in York Street, Sydney. Now look at that, I didn't notice that before. Where is, remember I pulled out earlier, I had that little, I thought it was a doily. Look, they're the same. Look at that. How about that? I've never noticed that before. So that is, I believe, is it a pocket? This is a half apron. So we've got the waist ties up here. Here's a picture of what it is. So I don't think that's actually showing you the right colours through the monitor. To me, this looks like a washed out whitey colour. It's a lovely lemon, beautiful lemon colour. We've got the waistband here. Now look how small this waistband is. There's no way that would fit my big, happy, jolly frame. Of course it's backwards. So the waistband is 44 centimetres and it hasn't even been hemmed, so it's going to be smaller than that. It's going to be about 42 centimetres. Then we come down the bottom and we've got these lovely sprays of... Oh, that's what that is. Look, see that? That lovely spray here. And then we've got stems. So this, I imagine, would sit atop of that and potentially be a pocket. I could turn that into a pocket. There's another bunch down here. Let's have a look at this image. It's not very clear, but I think that's what you do. So this goes on there as a pocket. How about that? Are you sick of me rambling on about my linens yet? I still don't know if you guys can hear me. I assume you can, because you're still following along. I can, let me see. You can comment while I'm talking, but it doesn't look like there are any yet. I've been waiting. Okay, next apron now. I'm about 90% sure this was one of Nan's. This is divine. Again, that beautiful raw natural linen. Ah, are you prepared for this? Miss Australia. Look at that. Isn't it amazing? There's the pocket, Miss Australia. This lovely person has also embroidered the model number, the print number. This doesn't actually go on the apron, it gets discarded, but they've gone to the effort to embroider that. Now we've got the kookaburra here. Look, they've even embroidered all the way around the outline of the apron. So when this is put together, I'll have to be careful to make sure I roll it so that it still sits on the edge. We go down and look, here's Miss Australia with her wildflowers. Isn't that stunning? Looks like very 1920s to me. Look at her outfit. That's a very 1920s outfit. And then here she is with the homestead in the background. We've got the smoke coming out. They've got the fire burning. Isn't that incredible? Absolutely adore that. Now that was one of my grandmother's. I don't think my grandmother did the work on that. Someone else did. Possibly her girlfriend who used to gift her all these lovely things. Now I've got another apron here. Now again, I'm not going to show you all this bucket. I just want to show you these aprons now. Are you ready for this one? This is another raw linen. Beautiful natural linen. And again, must be the same person because they've done that, stitched that outline. They've also stitched this. I think these may have come from my grandma's best friend because she was a teacher. What's it called when they teach sewing in high schools? She's stitched around the pocket and then the pocket goes in there, but here we go, look at this. Look at those flowers. Oh my goodness, look at that. We've got another miss with her beautiful, look, she's holding a beautiful spray of flowers. Look at her dress. And then we've got the flowers. And it's just exquisite, these aprons. They're amazing. The back, look at the back of the work. Absolutely stunning. So there's another apron. Again, I'm absolutely in love with these and I am going to finish them. And I think they might even end up as displays in my room or my shop or when I move. Okay, now this is the twins, and I have to keep this because my mother is a twin. Again, we've got that beautiful raw linen. This person has already done a crocheted edge all the way around it. Look at these. I think it's the same person. It's the same kind of stitching. They've pinned on the bit that goes around the neck. Now it's all in pieces. So I'm assuming there wasn't actually enough linen to make it, but they've pieced some together. They've started to stitch it. And then we go down and it's the same with the ties. Look how fine they are. I might have to see if I can match the linen to do these because there's just not enough there really. But we go down and look at the pocket. It's been crocheted, it needs to be pressed and washed obviously. It's been crocheted around. We've got, oh, it's just divine, guys. And then here are the twins. Look at them. Oh my goodness. It's just beautiful. So there's another apron. Are you sick of them yet? Let me fold this up. I just adore these aprons. You know what, I haven't come across an apron for ages. I haven't seen any out there. I mean, I've been looking, but they are hard to come by. Oh, I just get all excited or emotional or something when I see these. Okay, another apron. You ready for this one? This one is cotton. I believe it's more like, it's like calico or feed sack, this one. Where are we? Princess needlework. Does it actually tell me if it's cotton anywhere? No. So along the bottom, these would be the waist ties. And this lovely person has done run stitch along them to prepare them. There's some dreadful stains on this one, but get ready. This is the top of the apron. Look at that. Oh, the mosquitoes are moving in. Get away, you bloodsucker. Look at that. I do have a light here, but I can't get it to attach to my stand. Look at this. Isn't it divine? Wow. So again, I've just got to finish these off, hem them, do the crocheted edge, put the pockets on, put the loop around the neck, and make the ties. There's actually no neck loop on that one. It's just the waist ties, so that will be interesting. Unless I'm supposed to use the little bits on the edge and piece them together. Okay, next apron. They're just gorgeous. Again, there's no ties on this one, so I need to come up with some. Look at this. Beautiful Irish linen. Someone's done the crocheted edge on it. We go down. There should be ties here and around the neck, obviously. But look at that. Look how beautifully this has been stitched. Look at that. Look at the back. That's the back of the work. But let's go back up to this first flower and check this out. It's a pocket. Isn't that amazing? Absolutely stunning. These pieces are just gorgeous. Now this one I've had in my collection for many years. I don't remember where it came from. It may be from my great aunt, it may have been from my nan. I wish I could remember. It's an apron. It's got these ties that they must loop in the side, and the loops aren't there because there's these two big long ties from the top of the bib, and that's it. But let's have a look at this. And then that flares out for her skirt, and that's the apron. But these, look at these, they're all done with bullion stitch. Absolutely incredible. Beautiful, beautiful piece. They all are. They're just stunning. I'm so lucky to have these pieces. Oh, that must be the end of the aprons because this is a tablecloth. And I collect Australiana. So as you would have seen the Miss Australia, and I've got the Queen tablecloth, and someone's done this beautiful crocheted edge from silk. Beautiful. It's cotton, but they call it silko, because it's beautiful and soft and shiny. But this one, oh, I used to dream of this one. I've got to do all the work here. Look at the native flowers. They've got the waratah, the flannel flowers, the wattle, the tea tree, the Christmas bells. It's just stunning. And then when we go to the centre, so I think that's the same in every corner. Yep, so all the four corners have got that same design. And we go over to the centre of it, and it's got these beautiful gum blossoms and gum leaves. Now for me, I will sit here and work these when I move and get settled into my new place, when that eventually happens. I don't know when, one day. I will sit and work these. But if I'm going to put all that effort in to stitch them and crochet them and clean them and prepare them, they're not going to be worth my while to move on, as financially, I mean. There's so much work in them. If you were to sit there and do all that work, are you going to sell that for 20, 25 bucks? That's what they're going for at the moment when they're fully worked. Look at this one. I've actually started this one. I've been working it. But yeah, there's more in my box there, but I won't show you the rest of them because we're going to be here forever. And this is not why this isn't what I got on to show you guys. So bear with me for a minute. It's getting darker much quicker than I had hoped. So hopefully we've still got enough light for me to finish this. How come when you go to put everything back, it's never as neat as it was, and you can never quite fit everything in the same. So when you pack your groceries, you go through choosing your groceries, if you do that at the supermarket, and put them in your trolley, And then you go through the checkout, whether it's self-serve or you get them to do it for you. And they put it in all the bags. It never fits back in the trolley again, does it? There's always bits that you just can't fit back in. They stick out. Crikey. So much. Oh, goodness gracious. I think some of these vintage linens that I bought, that are just linen, I think some of those should match those aprons that I can use to do the neck strap and the ties. And that is one of the reasons why, if I see those bits of linen, I grab them, because they'll be useful to finish those aprons, amongst other things. Oh, get up there. Again, I just cannot fairing back in. This is a special piece that I wanted to share too. Now, I'm in two minds as to whether I should repair this or leave it. It's a shoe brush bag. It's linen, Irish linen. It's obviously got the bias binding edging. These two little tabs at the top here to hang it. And this all came with it, mind you. But it's absolutely, look at it, isn't it gorgeous? It's got, this to me almost looks like a mould of some kind. I love this tatty edge around here where the cotton is. I love that. But then we've got this hole, we've got a couple of holes, and I'm just in two minds as to whether I should repair it or not. I think I will, because I want it to last. I've never seen another one of these before. It's not saying they're not out there, but I've never seen one before. And it came with, now that one's wrapped up so it doesn't stay in the bag, with a shoe brush. And another shoe brush, but look at this one. Someone's hand painted it. Will that fit in there? Probably not. And then we've got this little, it says Rise and Shine. And it's got another little, look at that. Isn't it amazing? So I can't remember where I got this from. I've had it for years, but I just love it. And it's just been stored away. So I'd like to repair that and hang it up, display it or something. But I thought you might appreciate seeing that piece as well. Now, the reason I started this video today was to talk about the quilt I'm doing, the Sue Garrett, the Sue Garrett quilt. Now I get this wrong every time. Scrappy vintage, Scrappy, crikey, I can't remember. But this is my first square. Crikey, it's getting dark out here. I am so delighted with this. I was hesitant. I didn't think I'd be able to get it looking as lovely as Sue's. I already had some vintage fabrics at home. I have been buying vintage fabrics from Sue for quite some time now, maybe 10, 12 months. Some of these are from Beckett Sobe. Some of them are modern. That's a Liberty, that's from Beck, a Tanner Lawn. This is vintage. This is a new, this is from Fern Textiles. I got that from Thorpe & Co. This is part of an old sheet, a vintage sheet. This is, I think I got that from an op shop. This is from Spotlight. This is a beautiful, this was a cushion that I bought from my cousin from the 20s. It's absolutely stunning fabric. And I ummed whether I should deconstruct it to use, and then obviously I've decided to. More beautiful vintage fabrics. This is a more modern one. This is, look at this, Hello Kitty, Liberty, Tanner Lawn. See the Hello Kitty I've got hidden in there? So I've only got a tiny bit of that, so I'll be using some more of that in it. This is from a cushion, a pillowcase. This piece is from a vintage apron from the 20s or 30s. Some bark cloth. This is a modern piece. This is an upholstery fabric. I think I bought that one from Sue. This one here, and this one here, they're all from, I bought them from Sue, or she gifted me some, I think. They're all from, remember those vintage duvets? They were all paisley, and they were just, you know, stitched together. My great aunt had one, or my great uncle. I used to hate it at the time. I love them now. But Sue has been collecting them, and I believe she sits and unpicks them all and then sells on the fabrics. So I've got 3 different ones in there. And I've also got some embroidered linen. Look at that, isn't it stunning? Some of these, that's a bit of old flour sack, or what's that stuff from the 30s, you know, the flour sack that they make the yo-yos out of. Have I got any other flour sack? There's another bit of embroidery. Got any other flour sack? I don't think I do. There's just that piece. Oh, this one I think might be. That one's from an apron from the 20s or 30s. That one's from an apron. So see, there's some modern ones here. They've got the Liberty. That's a modern one. That's a Newman, Judy or Emma Newman, that one. There's another bit of the fern textiles. But anyway, that's my first 12-inch square to go into the quilt. I can't remember how many we've got to make, 20 something. I was thinking of putting this in. See, I've drawn those lines, they'll come out. But I'm thinking of using this as one of those centerpieces. Look at that. Wouldn't that be gorgeous? I hate cutting up these linens, but I'm really focused on doing this quilt. I'm getting right into it, hey. So I've got more pieces that I think I might sacrifice. This one, not entirely sure about the colours. You can see I've done some outlines to see if they might work. So that would work actually. This one's obviously got holes in it, this old linen one, but I'm wondering whether I can use this to do some little, I think potentially, that would end up being, what's that, 1.5 inch, so that would end up being, yeah, 1.5 inch. So once I piece it together, it's only going to be that big, so I'm going to lose most of that. So that one I need to rethink. This one, I couldn't decide. I was originally just going to use that square as one of these. It would work out that size when it's completed. But then I started thinking maybe I could actually use it for one of these. I haven't got one there. A bigger piece. One of, okay, I'll show you this one. So that's one of the ones that is going to go in. But you can see this is just 2 halves, 2 pieces. So I'm thinking maybe I could use this as one of those pieces potentially. So that's the idea with that one. I pulled this old pillowcase wondering whether, the only reason I'm hesitant to use this is because it's machine stitched and I'm trying to do it all by hand. I'm piecing it all together by hand and I'm trying to just use hand stitch pieces. So yeah, I'm not convinced with that one yet. I might change my mind. Again, I'm not sure about Of course I've got it all screwed up. I'm not sure about that piece, where I can use it or if it will even work. Maybe I could use that as a... I've got so many central focal points, it's not funny. They seem to be easy to find. Here's a embroidered flower on linen that I could potentially use. I think I've actually used one of these. I'll have a look in a minute. I've got these pieces I've been saving for ages that I could use in it. There's another one. Now this I was going to use in a needle book, but I've got these here that could potentially go in here. So these little flowers here could go into these. See these little 1-inch squares? They'd work in there. And these bigger ones could work in these bigger 2-inch squares. This piece I'm not sure about. It's quite raised up and chunky. I'm not sure. Maybe I could use that one in it. I've got to be aware too, a lot of these embroidered pieces I want to use have got very low volume backgrounds, so they're very cream or white, so it might be too much. And again, I've pulled this one, I've drawn some lines thinking maybe I could potentially use this, but again this one's been machine stitched, so I'm not sure, haven't decided yet. So I've got another pile of stuff there I was going to show you, but it's getting late so we won't get to that. So there's just a few that I've pulled. These are the crocheted edges that have come off some of the others I've used. They were doilies. This one had a heap of holes in it, so did this one. This one was falling apart. And that one wasn't much better. So I keep those because I use them in other things. I use them in my needle books. I'll move this aside. So here's some that I've done that are waiting to go into a 12-inch square. I'm trying to get more done so I can have an overall picture, and I want to, because I've got limited amounts of some fabrics, like these ones for example, that's all I had. I just squared them up, that's all the fabric I had. So I want to try and make sure I'm spreading them out over the whole quilt and not just doing blocks, 12-inch blocks like this that are all concentrated with different fabrics, if that makes sense. So here's another one I've done, ready to go in. That's got some hand-stitched embroidery on linen, obviously. This was a bit that came in I think a pinch pot kit from Beck at So Be. And this is a bit of Petit Fleur from So Be. This one is one of the very first squares I did, and this one. That's from Beck. That's a vintage fabric from Beck. That's from Beck's shop. That was in a scrap pack I bought a couple of years ago. That's a bit of a doily, embroidered doily, and that's another bit of Petit Pan from Beck. Now this is, I think, the first one I did for this pattern, and I pieced it all together and it went screw-if and I couldn't get it square and I couldn't work out what to do. So what I ended up doing was I unpicked it and I've put some interfacing on all the pieces, and that has helped square it up, because some of these vintage fabrics, this one here is very thin, and then we put it up next to a modern cotton quilting fabric and it just doesn't hold up well. So I've worked out if I put interfacing on the back of all the pieces, it works so much better. I think this is the second one I did, so there's no interfacing on it. Potentially I could still add it. This is another one, no interfacing yet, so it was one of the first ones I'd done. This is a bit of vintage Sanderson, this one. That's a modern reproduction, and that's a vintage, just a vintage cotton. Oh, it's getting so dark, guys. Another one, there's no interfacing, so again, one of the very first ones I'd done. Beautiful, stunning vintage bark cloth. I'm fairly certain that's from Sue. That's from a little mid-century modern doily, just a little round one. It has been hand-stitched. That's from a 1950s napkin. I love that fabric. That's a modern fabric. So is that. In fact, those three across the top there, isn't that interesting? All came from a scrap pack from Beck. This is another one I've done. Again, hand embroidered. That was a table centre, that one. Beautiful mid-century hand embroidered table centre. This was from a beautiful 1950s hostess apron. A bit of vintage bark cloth. And this is one of those, another colour actually, vintage duvets that Sue's unpicked. Another vintage duvet piece. These fabrics are very fine cotton, so they need to be backed. They're very, very fine. In fact, some of them I pick up and it feels like they're going to disintegrate in your fingers. That's a modern, that's actually a, well, I say modern, maybe 20 years old. It's a very soft, floaty fabric. I definitely had to put interfacing on that because it's got no structure, but I thought it worked well. That's a modern reproduction, and that's a hand appliqued piece from a pillowcase. Now, what way did that one go? This way. They've all got, I've got to make sure I put them all up the right way because some of the prints are directional. So this flower, for example, so I've got to make sure it goes upright. So this is a vintage cotton that I found somewhere along the way, and I only had a piece about that big, not even that. So I've been trying to stretch that out. That's actually gone into another project as well. There's a piece of Liberty. This is a beautiful piece I bought from Sue. This is from a tablecloth, table centre on linen. Look at the colours, it's stunning. This is from Beck, or is that from Thorpe's? I'll have to double check. This is a bit of vintage feed sack that I got from Beck, and this is a vintage sheet. Beautiful piece. And I think, pretty sure that one came from Sue. Next one. This is from a scrap pack from Beck. This is from a tablecloth. 1950s tablecloth. This is an old piece of cotton, quilting cotton. Again, we've got a hand embroidered on linen. Look at those stains up there. I need to get out. Beautiful old cotton. This is from the 80s, this stuff. Very nice stuff. Again, another piece of vintage sheeting and a piece of petty pan from Beck's. Now I think they're the only ones I've completed at the moment, but then they're the 4-inch ones, or 4.5 inch, that you use for the big focal points. So these are some more that I've cut, ready to go, but they haven't got the interfacing on yet. I've ordered some. I'm waiting for it to arrive. And this fabric, I'm fairly certain, came from Sue. This was it's got interfacing. This was a napkin I had. I just had the one, but I thought, oh, that'll work. Linen napkin from probably the 50s, 60s. This is a piece of crepe, but look at that. When you go through Sue's instructions, she says something like, if in doubt, add red and or green, add red and green, add red and green. So I thought that might actually work because there's quite a bit of red and green in it. Might not, it's a crepe, you know, I don't know. This one's from a vintage tablecloth. And I think you bought some of that, Deb. Deb in New Zealand, I'm fairly certain you've got some of that one. This is from another vintage 50s tablecloth. It's a different weave. Can you see the texture in that? Don't know if you can. It's got a lovely woven texture. This is a vintage sheet, this one. But I think that will work. There's actually, I don't think you can see it. There's actually white bits printed in it as well that is quite pretty. Another piece of stunning vintage bark cloth. I bought this bit from Sue. And I used to hate bark cloth when I was a kid. I thought it was the ugliest stuff I've ever seen. Now I adore it. This is another one from Sue. I can never work out which way's up with these. Bit I bought from Sue. This is another bit I bought from Sue. This is Reclaim. She spoke about this recently. You can see where she's unpicked it. It's got that beautiful grey, soft duck egg grey background. Beautiful piece of vintage fabric. So I thought that might go in it. This is one I bought recently from a friend of mine. And interestingly, Sue's got the same print. And this is a wide back. It's very wide. I should have bought more from my friend. It's probably all gone now. But it was like 2.2 metres wide or something. So I thought that would work. I bought that specifically for this quilt. And I've got so much of it, it's not funny. Now this was someone had started, I believe, to make a coat hanger cover. And so this was gifted to me by a friend because it wasn't finished. So I thought I'll just cut out that bit they've already embroidered and put that in it. This is from a napkin, applique napkin, like a mid-century one. I love those applique bits. This was a stunning doily, but the embroidery is just stunning, so I decided it has to go in my quilt. Look at that. Look at the back. I'm waiting for that stabilizer to put on this, but look at that. It is amazing, that one. This I bought from Nairi, and I wasn't going to put fruit in it, but I think it's just gorgeous, and I think I actually have. That one's got cherries on it. Oh, they do have strawberries. I do have a print with strawberries, so that should work in it. I was a bit hesitant. Then I've got this. This was a lovely table centre, but it had a big hole in it, so I've tried to rescue some of that. It's quite chunky, that stitching though, isn't it? Here's one I spoke about earlier. I've got another piece there, a bit smaller. Beautiful embroidery on linen that can go into it. Now this one was a napkin, cross-stitch napkin. See what I mean? But I've got all this white. It might be too much, I don't know yet. This was from a tablecloth, embroidered tablecloth. Look at that satin stitch, just stunning. Here's another piece of that embroidered applique pillowcase. And I ended up, because I wanted to make these a feature, I didn't want that was the edge. I didn't want to lose that when I did the hem. So I got some more of the pillowcase and I've stitched that along the bottom to extend that, so we're not going to lose those flowers by the time I put the seam allowance. Now this is a piece I bought from Nairi. Look at that, it's all hand embroidered. So I've cut that to fit in my quilt. Nairi's Bits and Bobbins, I think it's called, on Instagram. She does the de-stash as well. Here's some more of that beautiful aqua on linen. It's getting very dark, isn't it? Look at the sheen in that satin stitch. This was another, I've used some of this. Is it in this one? Must be in another one. I already used some of this in one of the squares. Look at that. Look at the sheen in that stitching, all hand embroidered. Another piece of hand embroidered. This is from a table centre. And another piece of that pillowcase. And this was a doily. Look at that. Beautiful mid-century 1950s hand embroidered, potentially from China, I think they came, but they're stunning. Let me see if I can find, I'm sure I had already used a bit of that flower. Can't find it, must be dreaming. So that's where I'm up to with that. I've also got, what I've discovered for me, to actually sit down and start putting these squares together, these smaller squares. So there's 9 of these smaller squares in each square, the 12-inch squares. But for me to get started on them, originally I just went searching for fabrics and one at a time. But it slows me down. It's really, it makes it really difficult. You just saw all my rubbish sitting under the desk there I need to get rid of. Makes it really difficult for me to actually get started on a square. So what I've done, of a night time before I go to sleep, I've been sitting down and trying to fussy cut bits of fabric. And again, most of these still need interfacing. So I've been trying to do fussy cut some bits. Look at that one. That's one from Sue. Now they're not all grouped together the same fabric, because what I found is if they're all the same, they stick to each other when they're all piled on top of each other. This is a vintage fabric I bought from Beck. I actually bought this specifically to go in a needle book I'm working on that's mainly neon. I ended up sending half of it to my daughter, and then I decided I want to put a bit in this quilt. This is some of that stunning 1920s cushion I bought from my cousin. It's very fine, so it definitely needs interfacing. Again, from Sue, it's more of that cushion. There's a bit of that. I feel like this is sheeting I bought from Sue, but it may not be. She has reclaimed it from somewhere because there is a seam on it. More of that beautiful cushion. More from Sue. We've seen those bits. We've seen that bit. Here's a bit of, that's one of the, it's either Judy or Emma Newman. I bought that from Beck at So Be in a little pack. Here's one of those, a bit from one of those duvets, the vintage duvets. I believe they were from the 50s or 60s, maybe a bit earlier. This is a bit of vintage French fabric I bought from Lucello. I think that's that Lucello, it might be from Nairi. Now I bought some vintage fabrics from Nairi, and they're very similar from the ones I got from Lucello. This is a bit that came in a pack from Beck, which I think is gorgeous. Again, I think this is another bit from Beck. This is like a feed sack, this one. This is a bit from a vintage apron, which is stunning. Beautiful cotton. That's similar to a feed sack too. Now I've got some vintage sheet that's got interfacing. More of that one from Sue. More of that bark cloth from Sue. Vintage sheeting. These ones all have interfacing, so they're easier to work through. There's more of that beautiful duck egg grey one from Sue. More of the bark cloth from Sue. More of that red one, that crepe, red crepe. This one is, now I think this might have been a bit from Nairi, a bit of vintage French linen. You can see there's still stitch lines where there was a seam that I've unpicked all the way up. That was folded over there, but I still wanted to have that, so I've unpicked it all. This is a bit of a doily, hand embroidered. Another bit of that was a table centre, that one. There's more of that beautiful aqua. And then this is from a little, someone gave me this, it was a little supper cloth. And a mouse had chewed through, it had been folded over and they'd chewed through all the folds. So I've been rescuing bits of that. So they're my, I did have all the sizes written on the back, but when I press it, they disappear. So there's my little box of bits and pieces. Look at this one. This is a beautiful one that Sue sent me recently. I think that one was from Sue too. Beautiful vintage. Now that one could almost be a feed sack, that one. But there's some stunning ones. This one, I bought a beautiful old apron from Emma from the vintage linen, pressed linen, I think Emma's called, pressed linen. This beautiful apron, and I decided to sacrifice it to put in my quilt. Isn't it gorgeous? So there's that. And I find, as I was saying, I find it easier to have all these pre-cut. A lot of them still need the interfacing on them, and then I'll just sit of an evening and go through the pattern and piece bits together. Look at these embroidered bits. This is all hand embroidered. Whoever did this was stunning. This one is one of the doilies I listed recently, but it's so threadbare, it had holes in it, so I decided to sacrifice that one. This was a bit from Beck actually, in one of her kits for a pinch pot. This is from that mouse-eaten one. It's not flowers, but I think it might still work. These ones were bits from the kit that Beck sent. They're a bit off centre, but that's where the fabric had already been cut, so I still think they'd work. Oh, this was from a table runner I had that had a big hole in it, so I've sacrificed that. This was from a table centre, and remember that poppy I showed you back here? Where is it? This one. This is from the same table centre. So this one, and then this is from the same one. Right, so instead of just you can see the stains on there, but instead of just tossing that out thinking it's no good for anything, I thought there's leaves, hand embroidered leaves on there, let's use them. We'll use them in our little quilt, if I can fit it in. Another bit from one of the Beck kits, the Pinch Pots kits, and another bit. So I try and use, it is so dark out here guys, I'm surprised you can even see through the monitor. So I've got all this stuff out here. See all my pans and my cottons and my scissors and I was going to sit here and stitch with you, but it's gotten so dark and I've been here for so long, I think it's probably pointless now. So I think it's actually time, unfortunately, for me to say goodnight to you and pack everything away and go and put some dinner on. I can't decide whether to have for dinner tonight. I've got some groceries in the last couple of days that were very cheap. I got some from the food bank, and when I went to Woolies last night, they had a heap of stuff drastically marked down. So I got Willow some duck breasts in packets. Normally $18, I got them for $2. And she's never had duck breast before, so it might be too rich for her. And I got some beautiful kangaroo fillets. And they were $20-something down to $2. And look, I don't normally buy them, but because they were that price and I wanted some variety for her diet, I bought them. But I also I bought some stuff to do. I had most of the ingredients. All I needed was the soft shell things. And I forgot lettuce and tomato. I forgot salad. But I've got stuff to make some flat tacos, which looks delicious. Make a mince and press the mince on the taco and cook it. And then add a cilantro or coriander and yogurt dressing, and I forgot the salad. So that's what I was going to have tonight. I've actually got the mince out to make that. But I also bought a spinach and feta, I think. Oh, what's it called? I said it a minute ago and I've lost it. The pasta that's stuffed. I bought some of that for about $2 a packet as well. So I'm going to do one of those for dinner, I think. Oh, I can't believe I dragged all this stuff out here. And I got new glasses, guys. I didn't pay for them. Actually, $18 it cost me for the 2 pairs. So these are actually red. I wonder if I can... This is supposed to go on top of my stand here, but I can't get it to stay because I buggered it up. Here we go. There's the light that's supposed to sit up here. So these are my reading glasses. I didn't get distance glasses this time. I might have to go back. I didn't need them, so yeah. So by the time my health fund coughs up, I've got to pay a gap of $18 for 2 pairs. I don't go the real fancy ones anymore. I used to buy $1,800 glasses, and I just go to Specsavers now. These are my embroidery glasses. I love these. I didn't think I'd ever wear tortoiseshell. These are great big chunky. I absolutely love them. So yeah, these are my embroidery glasses. So when I say embroidery slash paint, well, these are probably painting. So these are for when I hold my work about here, but when I'm doing close-up work like embroidery and I'm pulling it closer to my face, I need a different prescription. So if any of you wear glasses, this is quite interesting. It was only, not this last visit, the one before, the optometrist actually said to me, you know, they usually say, where do you hold the paper when you read it? Okay, that's one thing. But then he said to me, where do you do anything else? Do you know, use the computer? Well, I didn't get glasses for the computer because I'm on the phone more than the computer. But then he said, you know, do you do anything else? Do you do painting? I said, well, actually, I do painting and I do embroidery. So he said to me, okay, if this is where you hold the newspaper, we need this prescription. If you're getting in closer, so I'm holding my embroidery much closer to my nose, I needed a completely different prescription. So I ended up with those two glasses. I only picked them up last week. And I didn't get distance ones, but I love these ones so much. I'm thinking I might get another pair of these to wear every day for my distance ones. I didn't get new sunglasses. The sunglasses, I've got prescription sunglasses. I've had them for about 15 years. I had the prescription checked. It hasn't really changed much. She said maybe 1 degree, that's it. So I didn't get new sunnies. I love my sunnies. But all my glasses, I don't know if you've noticed, every pair of glasses I've got, they're all plastic or composite. I don't have any with metal because if I go out on the foreground, if I'm wearing metal glasses, they're just going to burn my face. So all my glasses are plastic or acrylic or whatever that stuff is. But anyway, I don't think I've got anything else to share because it's gotten really bloody dark. So I've probably bored you all to tears. I can't get the, there we go. No, I've just seen if there's any comments yet. So now that I'm starting to sign off and say goodbye to people I've been on, I think I've shown this before, this little cut crystal bowl. I'm assuming it was a condiment bowl and it's got a sterling silver lip around it. And I was going to make a pin cushion out of it. I've just been keeping my tape measure in it. But it was 50 cents. I bought that ages ago. I don't know how long I've had it. But yeah, that was going to be a pin cushion, but I haven't got around to it yet. Anyway, I'll stop yabbering like I do. I do this every time, don't I? Blah, 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 blah at the end. It takes me forever to sign off. But I'm going to go because it's pitch black out here. I wonder if I can turn you around without... It doesn't really show you how black it is, does it? It's coming up much lighter on the screen than it actually is, but it's quite dark out here now. Yes, those of you with keen eyes may have noticed there's a car in my driveway. Now, I have not owned a working car for years because I can't afford to run one and keep one anymore, but my mum has had trouble with her vision the last few months, and my dad confiscated the car from her on Good Friday. So it's here, so she won't drive it until she has her surgery on her eyes done. But anyway, I'm going to go, guys. The mozzies are carrying me away. I thank you so much for joining me. Once this video uploads, I will watch it back and take down notes and fill in all the bits, the people I talk about, the shops you can buy the stuff from. I'll add it all in the description, okay? So thank you again for joining me. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I've just remembered I haven't contacted Dad. I'm supposed to be picking my dad up in the morning for our little fortnightly coffee date that we've started having, which is very nice. Anyway, thank you again. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope you get in lots of stitching or creative stuff. And I'll see you next time. Be well, guys, and be kind.